From childhood, you were trained to be good, not conscious, not alive, but good. Good meant obedient. Good meant acceptable. Good meant safe. You learned very early that love was conditional, that appreciation came only when you behaved in a certain way. So fear entered quietly, unnoticed, unnamed, and began shaping your personality. Fear of punishment, fear of rejection, fear of being wrong, fear of not being loved. And out of that fear, goodness was manufactured. Look closely. The so-called good person is constantly tense. Watch their eyes. There is calculation. Watch their smile. It is careful. Watch their kindness. It is controlled. They are not flowing. They are performing. They do not ask what is true in this moment. They ask what is expected of me. And the distance between expectation and truth is where hypocrisy is born. This goodness is not a fragrance. It is a discipline. It has effort. It has pressure. It has control. Inside, anger is boiling, but they swallow it. Desire is knocking, but they deny it. Jealousy is burning, but they pretend to be loving. They are constantly fighting themselves. And remember this deeply. A person who is fighting themselves can never be at peace with the world. Fear-based goodness is always alert, always cautious. It watches itself every second. It is afraid of slipping, afraid of exposure, afraid that the mask might fall. That is why so-called good people judge so much. Judgment is their way of protecting the mask. By pointing at others, they avoid looking within. When they see someone free, spontaneous, alive, it disturbs them. Not because that person is wrong, but because that person reminds them of everything they have suppressed. Their goodness depends on control, and control is violence. Subtle, polite, socially approved violence. A child laughs loudly. They say, behave. A lover cries deeply. They say, be strong. A human being expresses anger. They say, be mature. Fear is always behind these words. Fear of chaos, fear of truth, fear of the unknown. Awareness, on the other hand, has no fear. Awareness does not choose in advance. It responds. It does not ask, is this good or bad? Asks, what is happening right now? In awareness, there is no need to pretend, no need to polish the image, no need to hide the shadow. When anger arises in awareness, it is seen, and in being seen, it loses its poison. When desire arises in awareness, it is understood, and in understanding, it transforms. When fear arises in awareness, it is embraced, and in that embrace, it dissolves. But the so-called good person cannot afford awareness. Awareness is dangerous to their identity. It threatens the structure they have carefully built. So they cling to rules, to scriptures, to traditions, to moral codes, because rules relieve them of responsibility. They no longer have to see, they only have to follow, and following feels safe. But safety is not life. Safety is not truth. Safety is not freedom. A person acting from fear may appear kind, gentle, moral, but under pressure something breaks, because fear has no roots. It cannot hold when the storm comes. Awareness has roots, deep roots. It does not depend on approval. It does not need rewards. It does not fear punishment. It simply sees, and in that seeing, compassion is born, not as an idea, but as a natural response. The difference is subtle but immense. Fear-based goodness is borrowed. Awareness-based living is original. One is learned, the other is discovered. One is maintained, the other is lived. Feel the difference. And let the silence answer you. Sit with this for a moment. Do not rush to understand it. Let it echo. because truth does not enter through speed. It enters through stillness. Morality is easy. You can borrow it, you can memorize it, you can inherit it without ever looking within. Consciousness is difficult. It asks you to be awake. It demands responsibility. It leaves no place to hide. That is why societies prefer morality. It creates order without awareness. It produces obedient people, not intelligent beings. From the very beginning, you were given rules. Do this, don't do that. This is right, that is wrong. No one asked you to see. You were only asked to follow, and slowly something dangerous happened. Your actions became disconnected from your inner reality. You learned how to behave without understanding why. This is the birth of hypocrisy. A moral person may look clean on the outside, but inside there is chaos, unexamined, untouched, unconscious. They speak of love, yet carry resentment. They talk of honesty, yet live in fear. They preach non-violence, yet enjoy domination in subtle forms. Their words and their being do not meet, and when words and being are not one, life becomes false. Morality says, do not be angry. Consciousness says, watch the anger. Morality says, suppress desire. Consciousness says, understand desire. Morality is always against something. Consciousness is never against. It is curious. And whatever you fight, you strengthen. Whatever you watch, you transcend. The moral person fights themselves every day. They wake up already divided. One part desires, another condemns. One part wants to live, another part says no. This inner conflict never allows peace. So they smile, but the smile is practiced. They pray, but the prayer is mechanical. They help, but the help carries superiority. And deep down there is guilt, because they know something is wrong. But instead of looking within, they become stricter. More rules, more discipline, more control. Hypocrisy always needs reinforcement. Watch closely. Moral people are obsessed with others' behavior. They monitor, they judge, they correct. Because if they stop judging others, they might have to face themselves. Consciousness does not judge. It sees, and seeing is dangerous to false structures. That is why morality often becomes cruel, not openly violent, but cold, sharp, unforgiving. It lacks warmth. It lacks understanding. A conscious person may appear immoral to society. They may laugh when others expect seriousness. They may speak truth where silence is demanded. They may love without permission, but their actions arise from clarity, not compulsion. Morality acts from fear. Fear of hell, fear of punishment, fear of exclusion. Consciousness acts from insight. Fear can make you behave, but it can never make you free. A moral person is always afraid of slipping. Their goodness is fragile. One wrong thought, and guilt arrives. One mistake, and self-hatred follows. This is not growth, this is imprisonment. Consciousness has no fear of mistakes. Mistakes are teachers. They are part of learning. That is why a conscious person is relaxed. There is no tension in their goodness. It flows. It responds. It breathes. When compassion comes from morality, it is dry. When compassion comes from consciousness, it is alive. One is a rule. The other is a fragrance. Morality creates saints who are afraid of themselves. Consciousness creates human beings who are at home within. Feel the difference. Let it touch you, not as a thought, but as a realization. Let this statement pass through you slowly, because it is not an idea to be understood. It is a reality to be felt. From the moment you were born, society began shaping you, not to discover who you are, but to decide who you should be. Before you could even speak, you were being trained. Rewards for obedience, silence for disagreement, approval for conformity, and slowly a face was given to you, a face that would be acceptable, a face that would be praised, a face that would be called good. But that face was not your being. It was a cover. This is how the mask is born. Society is not interested in your truth. Truth is unpredictable. Truth cannot be controlled. Truth does not fit neatly into systems. Society wants order, and order is easier when people are predictable. So goodness is taught, not as awareness but as behavior. Smile here, lower your voice there, hide your anger, control your desire, pretend, and you learn quickly because survival depended on it. A child does not lie out of corruption. A child lies out of fear of losing love. That fear grows with you, so you become kind, but carefully, honest, but selectively, loving, but with boundaries drawn by fear. You are not responding to life. You are managing an image, and an image can never be true. This goodness is exhausting. It requires constant vigilance. You must watch every word, every gesture, every thought, because if the mask slips, if the anger shows, if the jealousy appears, you fear rejection. So you suppress, you decorate, you polish. But underneath the polished surface there is pressure. And pressure always seeks release. This is why people who appear good suddenly explode. Why those who seem gentle become cruel under stress. Why those who speak of love are capable of deep harm. The mask cracks because truth was never addressed. Only covered. Goodness learned from society does not arise from understanding. It arises from conditioning. And conditioning creates imitation, not authenticity. You behave well because you are told to, not because you see clearly. This goodness has no roots. It is like a flower made of plastic, colorful, impressive, but lifeless. When life challenges you, it withers, because it was never real. Truth does not need effort. A mask does. Truth is relaxed. A mask is tense. Truth allows contradictions. A mask demands consistency. And the greatest tragedy is not that society gives you a mask. The tragedy is that you forget you are wearing one. You start believing you are the mask. You say, I am a good person. But you have never asked, who am I when no one is watching? In sorrow, in temptation, in fear, in loneliness. That is where truth lives. A person who has seen their darkness is more trustworthy than a person who hides behind goodness. Because seeing brings humility, seeing brings compassion, seeing brings depth. But the socially good person is afraid of their own shadow, so they keep it locked away, and what is locked away grows stronger. This goodness depends on rules. Without rules, it collapses. This goodness depends on praise. Without praise, it dries up. This goodness depends on comparison. Without others to feel superior to, it feels empty. Truth depends on nothing. It simply is. And when goodness arises from truth, it is effortless. It does not announce itself. It does not seek recognition. It does not need to be maintained. It flows like breath, naturally, silently. Feel the difference, not with thought, but with awareness. Stay with this. Do not judge it. Do not defend against it. Just listen. As if something ancient is speaking to you from within. From the very beginning you were taught one dangerous thing, that some parts of you are unacceptable. Your anger was called bad. Your desire was called sinful. Your jealousy was called shameful. Your wildness was called wrong. And because you wanted to be loved, you did what every innocent child does. You pushed those parts down, not healed, not understood, just buried. And what is buried alive does not die. It waits. Repression is not disappearance. It is postponement. Each time anger arose and you swallowed it, it went deeper. Each time desire knocked and you denied it, it went underground. Each time truth wanted to scream and you chose silence, it curled up in the shadows, and slowly a dark basement was created inside you, filled with unlived emotions, unexpressed truths, unacknowledged instincts. You may look calm on the surface, but inside there is pressure, constant pain. Sure, because repression is violence against yourself. You are forcing life to move in only one direction, while its nature is totality, light and shadow, love and rage, silence and storm. When you deny one side, the other becomes distorted. A repressed person becomes tense. Watch their body. Tight jaw, shallow breath, controlled gestures. They are holding something back all the time, and holding back requires energy. That energy does not disappear. It turns toxic. This is why repressed people often explode over small things. A misplaced word, a minor mistake, a harmless disagreement. The reaction is never about the moment. It is about years of suppression looking for an exit. Darkness that is not allowed to move consciously, moves unconsciously. If anger is repressed, it becomes passive aggression. If desire is repressed, it becomes obsession. If sadness is repressed, it becomes numbness. If fear is repressed, it becomes control. And the most dangerous part is this. You begin to believe that the expression is coming from others. You say, they made me angry, they triggered me, they forced this out of me, but no one can pull out what is not already inside. Repression creates blind spots. You are no longer aware of what lives within you. So when it erupts, it feels foreign, almost possessed. This is how good people become cruel. This is how kind faces hide violent shadows. This is how morality collapses under pressure. History is full of examples. Individuals, families, nations. Repressed darkness does not disappear. It organizes. And when it finds a crack, it rushes out. But awareness changes everything. The moment you stop condemning your darkness, it begins to lose its power. Darkness feeds on rejection. It survives on denial. When you look at your anger without judgment, it softens. When you feel your fear without resistance, it relaxes. When you acknowledge your desire without shame, it becomes clarity. Light does not fight darkness, it simply enters, and in that entering, darkness transforms. Expression does not mean acting out blindly. Expression means seeing clearly. It means allowing energy to be understood, not suppressed or indulged. The person who has faced their darkness is no longer afraid of it, and a person who is not afraid of their darkness is incapable of being dangerous, because nothing is waiting in the shadows anymore. Feel this truth. Let it breathe inside you. Let this line echo inside you for a few breaths. Do not rush past it, because your whole life you were taught the opposite. You were told to trust the good person, the polite one, the well-mannered one, the one who says the right things at the right time. But no one taught you to look deeper, to see from where their actions arise. Goodness can be rehearsed. Awareness cannot. Goodness can be borrowed. Awareness must be lived. A person can train themselves to be kind, calm, moral, but awareness is not an appearance. It is a presence. Watch closely. Goodness often comes with tension, with effort, with control. The so-called good person is constantly monitoring themselves. Am I saying the right thing? Am I behaving properly? What will people think? Their goodness is fragile. One insult, one temptation, one unexpected situation, and it shakes because it was never rooted in seeing. It was rooted in fear. Awareness has no fear. Awareness has no script. It meets the moment as it is. When awareness acts, there is no calculation, no inner argument, no delay. That is why awareness feels alive. Goodness asks, what should I do? Awareness asks, what is happening? And that difference changes everything. A good person may forgive because they were taught forgiveness is virtuous. An aware person forgives because they see there is nothing to carry. A good person may speak truth because honesty is praised. An aware person speaks truth because silence would be dishonest to their being. Goodness imitates, awareness responds, and imitation is never reliable. Look at how goodness collapses under pressure. A moral person is kind until they are afraid, patient until they are challenged, loving until their image is threatened. Because goodness depends on circumstances. Awareness sees anger arise and does not become it. Awareness sees desire arise and is not possessed by it. Awareness sees fear arise and does not obey it. This seeing creates space, and in that space freedom is born. That is why awareness is trustworthy. Not because it is perfect, but because it is honest. A conscious person may say, I am angry. They do not hide it behind smiles. They do not decorate it with moral language. They see it. They own it. They stay present with it. And because of that, anger does not turn into violence. A good person hides anger to protect their image. And what is hidden grows dangerous. Goodness is often a shield. Awareness is openness. Goodness wants to be respected. Awareness wants to be real. That is why awareness can be uncomfortable. It does not promise you social approval. It does not guarantee you praise. It only offers truth, and truth does not care about your reputation. A person living in awareness may make mistakes, but those mistakes are conscious. They become learning. A person living in goodness avoids mistakes and remains unconscious. One grows, the other stagnates. Goodness is static. Awareness is dynamic. Goodness repeats patterns. Awareness evolves. And notice something subtle. When awareness is present, goodness happens naturally, not as a rule, not as a duty, but as a byproduct. Compassion arises because you see others clearly. Kindness flows because there is no separation. Love happens because there is no fear. But when goodness is pursued directly, awareness is lost. You start acting instead of being. You start managing instead of living. Trust awareness, because it cannot lie. It has no motive. Trust awareness, because it does not pretend to be better than it is. It sees what is and stays. Goodness may impress the world. Awareness transforms the self. Feel this truth quietly. Let it settle, not as belief, but as recognition.